Welcome to the Toke&Trans. What do I say? Welcome to the Toke&Trans podcast, where we talk life, love, and getting high. Grab a J and join us. We do not condone the consumption of illicit activities with anyone under the age of 21.
What's going on, everybody? It's your two favorite trans people. And we've missed you since last week. I'm here with Beau Dubois. How are you feeling, Beau?
I'm here with Aaron CAPENER.
What is this? I love this news vibe. How are you feeling for real?
Reporting live from Westchester, Pennsylvania. We are feeling fantastic and ready to talk about misconceptions of trans men.
Hey, we're here to talk about the misconceptions about trans men. We're going to be debunking some myths. We're going to be talking straight facts to you guys, because you obviously may have heard some things that are not facts. So we need to bust it down and break it down a little bit for you. And there's none other than Beau to be helping us with this, because I learned from Beau many, many times. Usually if I'm not sure even if a sentence is correct, sometimes I will send it to Beau.
Oh my God. Literally yesterday.
Yesterday, I said, "Is this? I can't read this. I can't. So Beau's always very helpful for me. So I think he was the perfect person for this. So I'm gonna bring you some myths, Beau, and I want you to help me explain to them why they're misconceptions and myths. So
Love it.
I actually talked to my wife to get some of these as well, because, you know, me and Beau obviously are trans. So I thought we needed a little outside perspective of, you know, cis people's misconceptions. And something that Kayla even admitted when she was first learning about the trans community is that all or most trans men are lesbians first.
That is a misconception.
That's what I'm saying. It is a very big misconception that, like, the quote unquote like butch lesbians are the ones that transition into trans men. Beau,
Yes.
talk to me about this.
Oh my God, Aaron, I never once identified as a lesbian.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured, that would be a perfect one for you.
And before transition, I had such a preference for men.
Yes.
After transition, I got a little bit more, I was about to say a little bit more fruity, but I guess it would have been a little bit less fruity.
The opposite of fruity. I don't know.
I got a little bit less fruity. I don't know. Something about testosterone made me really attracted to women.
Yeah. Well,
And I mean, I've always kind of identified as bisexual, but I just had such a heavy lean for men.
Right.
And afterwards, I'd say it was way more 50-50.
Yeah.
And I know so many trans people that were straight women and are now gay men.
Right. Yes.
You know?
I think,
or vice versa.
Yeah, I feel like that's just like so, like that's like not what people are expecting. Like they're expecting, you know, like there's only this one way to transition. There's only this one way to do it, and it's usually because they're not educated on the subjects. Like when Kayla first was thinking about this, she was doing her research when she was like, you know, trying to educate herself on it. So just in case you are thinking these misconceptions, we're not dogging on you, but we are here to set the record straight. So
I think a lot of the, you know what, let me bring my voice down. I'm trying to practice bringing my voice down. So we're going to bring it on down. I think that a lot of the thought process behind that is like CIS Heteroism. I'm going to say it.
Right.
And so when we add ism at the end of a word, that means it's an ideology. So when we say that CIS heteroism is the problem, we're not saying that you being a cis person or a hetero person or a cis hetero person are the problem. We're saying that the ideal that you are the way that a person should be is the problem. There is not one way to be a person, and idealizing cisness and heterosexuality is not where it's at.
Right.
And
Right.
that's also what's leading you to think that in order for you to transition to a man, you must, at
Like
the end
women.
of that, be a straight man.
Yeah, you must only like women. Right.
Right. The only reason that you would want to be a man is if you are a gay woman.
Yeah.
There's no other reason,
Yeah.
because to them, gender and sexuality are one and the same.
Correct. Yes. There's
Because
so many conversations I've had with people where, like, you know, I do a lot of educating either in my family or in our area. And so when I have these conversations and I'm explaining what it's like to be trans in today's society, for me, when I introduce the fact that being attracted to men is an option for trans people, like, oh, like those things are separate, I mean, that really shatters their brain. Like they are like that, like if they were not already overwhelmed with what I was telling them, it's like it goes beyond the trans factor and into like what you said, the trans, I'm terrible with words, with the ism, you know, and the whole ideology of it.
right. That's what our
No, you're good. Here we are.
that's what our homeboy at CPAC said on stage when he said that transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. Right? The ideology of transgender people.
Right.
But we all know that there is no ism at the end of transgender. We're not
an ideology.
We're not an ideology. We're an identity.
Right.
The difference between cis heteroism is because that's something we experience. That's something that's real. So we defined it.
Right.
And transgenderism is not something that's real, even though the word follows like the existing word mechanics. It's not something that we suffer under. It's not something that is pushed under people. It's not something pushed onto people. It's not something we're teaching in schools.
We're not converting.
Right. It's just our way of living, which is not affecting anyone else.
Right. And we don't do it any one. Exactly. We don't do it any one way. That leads me to my next one, which is like all trans men or trans people want surgery, like top surgery. I love seeing, there's someone on my feed, I'll link them below, but there's this remarkable, so attractive young man that posts on his feed all about like all the time shirtless, and he's about my chest size. And you know, he's on T, and he just posts without a binder, without tape. He just posts his natural body, and I just think that is so. I find it so empowering. That's why I followed him. I think I've even DM'd him about it because it's just something that was really on my heart. And that just the fact that all trans men or trans people want top surgery is a big one. That that's not required. That's not what we're doing.
Not at all. You don't need to take hormones. You don't need to dress a certain way. You don't need to experience dysphoria. You know more than anyone in the entire fucking universe what your gender is. If you're not sure, then nobody else is either. I don't care. You know what? One thing I hate is like, oh, you know, I knew it. I knew. No, you didn't. No, you fucking didn't. You didn't know shit before I told you, because I didn't even know. Shut the hell up.
I've heard that so many times.
First of all, yeah. And second of all, I love that. That man is a man after my own heart. I've seen, it might be the same guy that I've also seen who hasn't had top surgery and just posts his shirtless. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Because first of all, we're not helping anybody, especially not ourselves or our community, by perpetuating these, I'm going to say it again.
Hey, say it again.
Cis hetero idealized bodies. Okay. Right. I say this all the time when I'm helping people on the help desk. Every day I say this, every single day, because it's something that I needed to tell myself too. Cis men aren't flat.
Right.
Cis men aren't flat. They don't have flat chests. I don't know where the hell we got this idea from, but I've seen hundreds of movies and shows. I've been to the beach so many times. I live on the East Coast. The beach is right there. Do you know how many times I see a man running on the beach and his titties are bouncing more than his girlfriend's? Like,
right. and your boy is smiling, you know, like,
right. And he's allowed to be shirtless and shit. Like, I mean, free the nip movement aside and the sexualization of women's bodies aside,
right?
It's such a harmful thought to think that as a man your chest has to be flat. Cis men can experience gynecomastia, weight gain in certain spots, like so you could being a child that grew up with asthma, some people need to take steroids.
Right.
And steroids can affect you in certain ways, like men growing breast tissue. And like, we're not helping anybody, cis people, trans people, by thinking these weird body ideals.
Yeah. And same with bottom surgery.
Right. Oh my God. I never want bottom surgery.
Bottom surgery is extra. I feel like that's an extra one that like people are like really think like, if anything, even if they don't think about top surgery, as if they are like uneducated or not, they don't know a lot about trans people. I feel like they always know, the surgery, the big surgery. It's just kind of end quote, like it's this big ominous thing.
Yeah. And I mean, my biggest surgery was top surgery. Right. Eventually I want to get a hysterectomy, but I don't ever want bottom surgery, ever.
Right.
Oh, God. I have no problem with my bottom bits. I like my bottom bits. They're great.
Yes. that's how you're supposed to be able to be affirmed with your body. Like, you know that about you. Stick to that about you. Like, if you're listening and you know that about yourself, you know that you like these things, then that's still you. I found myself, I'm a really masculine person. And I found myself sometimes getting really, really like I'll find myself getting worked up and do like a feminine mannerism. And it took me so long to stop like beating myself up about those things and just being like, yeah, sometimes like, you know, I can be a little feminine and that doesn't make me any less of a man. And that was a big ass lesson to like, really you just have to figure it out and actually think it for yourself for the first time for it to even work. But that's just something and even if it seems like it's out of question for you to actually believe that.
Bro, that's so fucking real. Oh my God, that's so fucking real. You know, because you're so fucking right. It doesn't matter how many times you hear it from us or any trans elder or uncle or auntie. It doesn't matter. You have to actually think it yourself and believe it. Yeah. Otherwise, it's useless.
Even if it seems like it's bullshit because it's not going to work. That also counts. Those people as well.
Yeah, but it's so true.
Yeah, definitely. And the same thing with like covering their chest, like with tape or a binder, like with clothes and things, as like people, they just their bodies are their own bodies, just to pick those.
Right. And it doesn't, you know, I think I said this in an episode before. If someone perceives you a certain way, it doesn't matter what you do to your body.
Right.
It's not going to help them perceive you any differently.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes your image has to change so much for that person to perceive you in a different way that, you know, like if you're a trans person that isn't on any hormones right now, so you're perceived most often as your opposite gender, it doesn't matter how flat you get yourself. It really doesn't. Or how baggy your hoodie is. If you're around those people who don't know you and don't know how to perceive you correctly, that's just the reality of it. And it really sucks. But I think that in order for us to be mentally healthy, these are the things that we have to understand and know.
Right.
And expect of the world that we live in now. We have to be realistic of our expectations. Otherwise, we're going to be very sad all of the time.
Right. And we cannot vest our happiness in how they guess.
Yeah.
We can't, like, because we
Can't
know, like,
fucking do it.
that doesn't change how we feel about ourselves. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. I'm so glad we're on the same page. This next one is one of my favorite ones. I got a great story for this one. Okay, so the next myth is that the sex is not as good. Okay, I was working. I was pre-T, barely, I had just started working somewhere, and I was working with the boss's son. So, and he was teaching me about the website things, and he, later became my friend. But he was, one of his first questions. He worked with me for probably 3 or 4 months pre-T without knowing that I was born female. So he had no idea and was blown away pre-T and all these things.
Amazing.
So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I wasn't expecting it. I thought you knew this whole time. And he said, I have a question, but I don't know if it's appropriate to ask. And any trans person knows that that's just the best way to start conversations. And that makes your heart just go 1,000 miles per hour. And you're like, okay, what am I, like, sometimes you can say no. And sometimes I'm like, fine, here comes education. So I'm like, sure, what you got? And he's like, I don't understand how you have sex. And I was like, so I'm like, so many things are going through my mind. Like, and I ended up I don't know how it came so fast. And I just looked at him. I said, the same way you do, but I don't need that.
And period. Yes.
He about fell out of his chair laughing so hard. And I was like, bro, like, I ain't worried about it. Like, it's customizable. Like, don't even worry. I'm like, I'm not worried about you. So that right there, I feel like, is something that in here in small town Tennessee, that was the first question he had to ask me, is how we had sex. So of course,
honey. Of course, honey. Yes, honey.
Y'all be searching that in that search bar.
Oh my God. Listen, there is too many views on transsexual porn for me to believe that all of you don't find us sexy as hell. So
sorry, it's just not true. Trans women, trans men, trans people all over are sexy as hell, and I think you guys already know that. I don't know what the deal is there, but
I think you know.
So I had to make sure I mentioned that myth, because that's not it.
Oh my God. Have
you ever been asked about your sexual experiences, how you do what you do?
Yes. Oh my God. And I'm an open book.
Sure.
And thank God for that. I think God gave me this lack of a TMI filter.
Sure.
So that I could educate the ignorant around me. Because every retail job that I've had, I've gotten so many invasive questions.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, you want to know? I'll tell you.
You sure you want to know? Yeah, exactly.
I'll go into vivid detail for you, so you never have to ask anyone else again.
You got a pen. You got a pen.
I'm like, first of all,
I'll give you
the mouth never misses. The mouth does not miss. I don't care what your downstairs setup is. I will get the job done. Number two, I got, well, listen, I won't go too far.
But
I won't go too far into it.
We have a long list.
I'm just saying I have a self-lubricating hole.
I mean, that... I can't take you.
It's very nice.
The point is, don't ask questions that you don't want to know the answers to. And then don't ask questions that you're not entitled to. Don't ask people what's in their pants,
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. And Google things. If Google's an amazing, tool. If you want to learn about anything, you can Google it and learn a lot more. You don't have to always make someone uncomfortable to learn something.
Yeah. And it's also just like asking somebody that kind of question is just announcing, like, this question was so burning inside of you that you set aside anything you know about social, like, right. social cues, maybe not that, maybe like, just like unsaid rules, I feel like.
General respect for others.
Right. You set aside everything you know about social interaction to ask this burning question that just reveals that this is all you're thinking about when you're interacting with me is what's in my pants.
And how
that
I'm
is
having sex.
Creepy. Right. Like you look at me, I'm talking to you about work and like deadlines and stuff like that. And you're like, wait, can I just ask a question?
I'm sorry. It's just, I can't get it out of my brain.
It's just all I can think about when you talk to me.
What
is in your pants? And how do you use it to pleasure others in the privacy of your bedroom? I gotta know.
I probably could have sued the place.
Well, Karen, why don't you tell me what size tampon you wear and how you pleasure your husband in your bedroom? Tell me that. And then I can share the information with you. Fuck.
Seriously. I don't.
Jesus. What is the diameter of your pussy, Karen?
No. We can't ask people these. So don't.
Yeah, you can't ask people that. Right. Yeah.
Right.
It sounds silly.
Yep. I feel like one of the myths that I also see is that like trans people are mentally ill. I feel like the mental illness aspect. And that one is just so frustrating.
It is. It is frustrating because gender dysphoria was in the DSM-5 for quite the time.
Explain to me what that is for the people that don't know.
The DSM, listen, I don't know what it stands for.
Okay. No, just tell me what you know.
The DSM-5 is like
diagnostic
something or other.
Sure.
It's where they list like mental disorders, illnesses, different types of mental illnesses. And things that are in the DSM-5 are things that are diagnosable for a person. And for the longest time, gender dysphoria was categorized as a mental illness in the DSM-5, something you could be diagnosed with. And transgender people were thought to be the only people that could experience gender dysphoria, and like it was mutually exclusive. That means that you couldn't be trans without having gender dysphoria, and you couldn't have gender dysphoria without being trans.
Right.
So they were mutually exclusive to each other. We know now that gender dysphoria is not a mental illness, because it can be treated with transition, medical, or social. Sometimes sometimes a body dysphoria can go away if that person is being affirmed socially. So it's not in the DSM-5 anymore, which means that we've learned that it's not a mental illness anymore.
Right.
But there are still people who think that, and it's just wild because, like you mentioned how things change to a person. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating because, yes, we thought it was a mental illness. It's not. Right. We know it's not.
Right. Then there's a lot of, and these are facts that are like researched and proven by like medical professionals that know more about the body than we do, really. And it's like that's right next to my other myth is that like we are making this up, right? Like I've heard that trans people are making up a third gender, and it's just the opposite of the facts, and that the history has proven time and time again in many different cultures in many different places, not only in the United States history, but in the other history across the world, and even in like native cultures and things of different genders. And so this is not something, I think I even saw a quote, I don't know if it was by this DeSantis guy or whatever, but it was something about like, oh, we just did this 2 weeks ago, we just came up with these genders thing, and now we're doing the blah blah blah. And I'm like, you really like the sentence that you literally just said and are posting on your social media is the opposite of the factual evidence that is in textbooks and studied by like professionals. Like I just that blows me away that people can be stand by these things so strong when they're just factually not true.
it is such a testament to what that man is doing. If it's true that like DeSantis was the person that said something like that, I believe it entirely. If that was him, because he's the one that's pushing for banning all of these college courses and regular grade school curriculum courses like critical race theory and Jewish history and African American history and African studies. All of these courses are being banned in the state of Florida. And then he makes a statement like that. Because if you didn't know any better, if you didn't know anything and you heard someone say that, you would just be like, oh, okay, I believe that because I don't know anything else about that subject.
Right. And
well, we started this 2 weeks ago. Okay, I understand. I believe now
share.
that it's new. Right.
And then I'll click share.
Right. And then I'll click share. And also, because these courses are banned, we're not learning any better. Mm-hmm. And he could just say whatever he wants about those subjects because we are not learning about them. The uneducated are so easily oppressed, Aaron.
Right. Because they don't know anything else.
Because you don't know anything else. That's why the Nazis burned all the books. That's why they burned down the Library of Sexology in May of 1933. I'll say it fucking again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that was such an important part of history for us because the uneducated are so easily oppressed.
Yeah. I literally the first thing that came to my mind is like me as a child. That was my first thing. Is like, I literally had no clue what these words meant. I had no idea that this was a community that existed at all until middle school. So like late middle school, like late middle school. And I'm like, okay, wait, there's words for how I feel.
Right.
Like there are other people that feel this way. The fuck? Right. Why the fuck didn't you tell me? Like it hurt my feelings. Like I had to learn this in school.
Right. And now the kids in Florida, these are things that they're not going to learn.
Right.
They're not going to learn anything about. And did you know, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but they're banning a lot of books too, you know?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the little 10-year-old girl in Delaware?
I did not.
A 10-year-old girl in Delaware went to a library and she picked out a book. God, I can't remember the title of it. Mm-hmm. But it was a sexual education book for children. Mm-hmm. To teach them about their bodies and things like that, you know, like a typical sex ed class. And the child, there was a chapter on sexual abuse to teach them what sexual abuse is and that it's wrong and, you know, how to get help and stuff like that.
Right.
She got to this chapter and she brought it to her mom and she said, "Mommy, this is me." And that was the first time that she told her mother that her father had been abusing her. And they went to court for it, and the judge found the father guilty. And when he did, he said there were two heroes in this court case. One was the girl, and the other was the book.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
If that didn't fucking give me fucking chills, like, first of all, how heartbreaking. Second of all, these books are being banned.
Right.
That child did not have the tools to communicate what was happening to her without that book.
Didn't know that was something that is not acceptable. That does not happen. That should not happen to me. Wow.
Yeah. And the people that are writing these laws are more and more being accused of being the people who we're trying to save our kids from.
Right.
And then they're shouting this stuff as if it's supposed to save the kids, protect the kids.
Right.
But then they're getting arrested for being inappropriate with minors.
Right.
More and more. And it's very disconcerting that they have such a loud audience.
Right. There's so that's that it makes so much noise, and there's so many actual people that believe these things. Yeah, it just proves that we have much more to do in one conversation. You know, these things are tricky, and they're hard to navigate, and yeah, it can be tricky.
Very tricky. Fascism is a very tricky beast. What's the next one, Aaron? Fuck.
What's the next one? Fuck. Okay. Well, on a lighter note, the next one I've got is that drag queens and kings are trans. You have to be trans to be drag kings and queens.
Oh my God.
I don't think a lot of people know even what drag kings are at this point. Or we're still educating people at this point what a drag king even is. But so just even the fact that drag queens are transgender, that's not the case.
Right. And bio queens are a thing now,
Tell me what that is.
So we know drag queens are men that cross-dress and perform as women. Mm-hmm. But they do not necessarily take that identity with them off the stage. That's just who they, it's just a stage persona. So typically it's a person who is assigned male at birth, dressing up as a woman, but they could be a woman assigned female at birth, dressing up as a
woman.
A woman.
Right. I imagine that.
Right. So and they could be cis and hetero and straight, and not queer at all. But
yeah, exactly. And then
we love an ally
and hopping up there.
Right. So literally everything you think about rules, just forget it because it doesn't exist. It's not real. There's
right.
And so drag kings are typically, assigned female at birth, and their stage persona is male. But again, a drag king could be a bio king assigned male at birth and is a male drag persona.
Right.
Or on either end of it, they could be non-binary.
Right.
And there's also drag creatures, drag monsters, who are assigned whatever at birth and then perform as a whatever gender monster or creature, like
they
Halloween
just
thing.
It's not even about the gender at that point.
Right. It's about looking like a bat.
Well, it's about going up there and having fun and going up there and expressing yourself and having just being you. And yes. if I were to do drag, I would be like a drag king, but so would I be called a drag? I wouldn't be called a bio king.
You wouldn't be a bio king because bio kings are cis.
Right. And I wouldn't necessarily be a drag king. That's what we're saying. The words
You'd be a drag king.
I'd be a drag king. All right. See?
Yeah.
There's no rule.
Bio queen, they're still drag queens. A bio queen is still a drag queen. It's just a fishy little term, Sure. You don't have to say whatever.
I got you. So pretty much
you would be, if you wanted to perform as a man, then you would be a drag king for sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the point is you don't have to be trans to do it. Just all the drag queens that are up there are not necessarily trans in real life.
Exactly. Drag is gender turned up to fucking 100, baby. You know what I mean? Take everything. If if you're a cis man and you want to try drag, but you don't want to be a woman, you want to be a man, you want to be a drag king, just fucking take everything you know about masculinity and turn it up to fucking 100 and make yourself a cartoon character out of it,
And
put makeup on and make your nose fucking crooked and fucking fill your beard in straight with purple or something, just do it, baby.
Just do it and enjoy it and have fun with it.
Yes.
Yes. I love that.
And you don't have to be gay either.
No, you don't. You can just be. You don't have to be anything. You can just be. And you kind of you just are as you are. I
feel like it must be so boring to be cis. they have all these rules made up in their head, and it's like,
these are the only rules it takes so much time to like unlearn these things, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's wild. That's pretty much what I had for my list for our debunking myths and
I think you got them all.
I got a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are more that we missed. If you guys think of any, drop them below, you know, comment on our things. We're always happy to engage. Yeah, but just remember that there's no rules. That, you know, there's no rules.
There's no rules.
There's no more, like, labels are like a thing of the past now, really. Like, you don't have to even have a label that, you know what I mean? Like, labels.
Yeah.
There's so many times I have conversations with people and they're like, yeah, no, I don't fit that. No, I'm not doing that. Like, it's not a thing.
No,
it's
not.
Well, that's all I had for you today. I appreciate you guys listening to this episode and hanging out with us week after week. If you didn't know, we have merch listed below.
We have merch.
Got merch. And we will see you guys in the next
the next one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, bye.